Lynne Ramsay is a filmmaker obsessed with meaningful violence. In her 25 years in the industry, she hasn't directed many feature-length films, only 4 in total, but violence plays an almost standalone role in all of them. Morvern Callar uses it as a conduit for self-discovery, and We Need to Talk About Kevin communicates its themes through a swelling promise of violence. But I think that You Were Never Really Here is Ramsay's magnum opus when it comes to her violent craft. The movie follows Joe, a tormented war veteran turned gun for hire, whose job now consists of saving children from being trafficked into sex work. The first time we're introduced to him, he's presented as the sum of his suffering, a portrait that we only catch glimpses of. A face in a plastic bag, a silhouette, a shaky point of view, all haunted by whispers. This is how the movie shares its information. Lynne Ramsay, I think, understands something really crucial about visual storytelling, that sometimes we aren't as swayed by the full picture as by pieces of it. When we're involved in discovering ideas, we hold on to them deeper. At times, You Were Never Really Here feels like a muddled bag of clues, rather than a straightforward narrative. And by immersing us in its murky waters, I think the film achieves a profound insight into pain and trauma, an insight that it communicates through its violence, in a way that constantly subverts our expectations as an audience. You see, we've become pretty desensitized when it comes to on-screen violence, looking to it primarily for the thrill or even the comedy. Some directors, of course, have become very good at it. The Kingsman franchise, for example, has mastered a comically brutal style of action movie violence that other franchises have struggled with.
Oh, hey! Imagine running into you up here. I was just looking for my bird,
Okay. But even when it's done well, the thing about most contemporary movie violence is that, while it's fun and certainly entertaining, it never really feels that consequential. And if there aren't any consequences, then there isn't really anything at stake. We can't reasonably connect with the violence of a movie if its heroes aren't in any real danger. In You Were Never Really Here, the presence of danger is relentless, as is the violence that follows it. Ramsay uses this unstoppable force to explore what lurks behind it, the pain, the trauma, and the permanence. For every headbutt and gunshot, a heavy toll follows. These consequences aren't just communicated through Joe's scars or suicidal ideation, of course. The entire movie is directed with the goal of connecting us to its characters through its violence. Take this scene, where Joe rescues Nina for the first time. Ramsay does so much with so little. The lead-up primes us to expect carnage, from the moment 13 minutes prior where Senator Votto demands brutality,
I want you to hurt them,
to 4 minutes after that, where the hammer and supplies are purchased. To the preparation and the actual stakeout, everything screams that a climactic, violent scene is coming up. But when the rescue finally happens, it looks like this. Ramsay completely subverts our expectations as this scene unfolds. Instead of building to the violent payoff we've been promised, we're alternatively shocked with violence and then deprived of it, in a way that makes it hard for us to find our bearings. The jump cuts and jagged soundtrack make the passage of time feel fragmented, and the juxtaposition of Joe's frenzied violence being presented in an unmotivated black and white CCTV style leaves us feeling a little confused. The scene achieves 3 of Ramsay's goals. The first is an honest portrayal of violence. We don't have the cinematic cues that we're used to, like color or composition, to guide how we should feel. We're instead made to be witnesses to the primal chaos that is violence. The second is to rope us into Joe's fractured mind, and oddly enough, build empathy through distance. By rattling the scene's cohesive structure, it actually ends up holding more emotional weight. The third is to convey deeper truths about her characters, which is tied to the aftermath of the rescue. When Nina is finally pulled out of the brothel, there's a palpable stylistic shift towards something more harmonious. The shot selection becomes more deliberate and more drawn out, and the music that envelops our characters feels warm. So why does the noise settle? In many ways, Nina is a mirror for Joe, which motivates this idea that he needs her as much as she needs him. She's the scared child that he once was, and by being her protector, Jo embraces a deeper sense of purpose, which has been missing up until this point. She doesn't help him cope with his demons, she helps him heal. This is how Ramsay approaches violence in You Were Never Really Here. It's carefully crafted and carefully shown to make an even greater statement on the movie's themes and characters. If you want to convey the unpredictability of rage, then leave the violence off screen and instead have the camera focus on characters.
Don't make me wait!
Or maybe you want to make a greater point about death, then make the violence quick and let the emphasis lie on its victims. Of course, the violence of the film always in some way leads back to Jo, because it's what defines him, both the violence he's endured and the violence he inflicts. Nina's character changes everything by fracturing this definition. The rescue scenes are a realization of this idea on purpose, and so it makes sense that the second rescue scene evokes the first, in its style, in its editing, and in its pacing. The two sequences almost have a conversation, emphasizing that they aren't so much about rescuing Nina as they are about affirming Jo's purpose. Where the two differ is how they build to their climax, with the second transitioning to something more cinematic. It primes us again for intensity, a hero moment if you will, but as Jo arrives to fight the big bad, this is what he finds. He's already dead. He's failed. Nina never needed him. He has no purpose, no reason to exist, and so he collapses. The reaction works so well because just like we wanted the violence, Jo needed it. Violence for Jo is the outlet for his trauma, and when he's deprived of his brutal protective mechanism, the rage, the guilt, the frustration, it all turns inwards. Disturbing memories rush to invade the present, no longer held at bay in his mind, and even the soundtrack intrudes on his reality, combining disjointed notes with wooden thuds and creaks. Jo stumbles aimlessly, returning to that scared little boy in the closet, and just as we lose the little hope we had, he finds Nina, like a light in the darkness. A light that persists despite everything, and gives him a reason to stay.
It's okay, Jo. It's okay.
You Were Never Really Here, I think, is perhaps the most insightful movie I've seen when it comes to violence and the human condition. By and large, most of us won't experience real violence in our lives, which I'm thankful for, so movies like this offer a glimpse behind the curtain. There's a valuable insight there that violence can be vicious and brutal, but also lasting and personal. After all, blood will dry and bruises will fade, but often the emotional toll is what never fully heals. I think Lynne Ramsay's objective with You Were Never Really Here was never to craft a story about revenge, but to explore the human condition, to better understand the struggle between blinding internal pain and its violent externalizations. Ramsay makes a powerful statement on our sense of purpose and its necessity on the path to healing, because, well, without purpose, it's almost as if we were never really here. Hey there, thanks for stopping by and checking out my video. Now, I've been getting a lot of requests for different movies to cover, so I thought I'd start mentioning which ones might be next in these outros, and you can cross your fingers that I pick something you like. Right now, I'm thinking the next one is either going to be on Zola, The Green Knight, or Under the Silver Lake. So let me know what you'd like to see in the comments below, and maybe you'll get lucky. If you haven't already and you made it this far in the video, why not subscribe? It'll help me keep making videos, which will keep me happy, it'll keep you happy, and it'll keep the world happy. Thanks again for all the support. It's been really exciting seeing my channel grow bit by bit, and I'm excited to see where we can get. Anyway, that's it for me, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.